This is a Security Weekly production. This week on the Stogie Geeks Show, Bryan Mussard joins us from Cattle Baron Cigars. In our Debonair Ideal segment, we're going to talk about cigar furniture. We're going to do an unbanded segment. Brenda joins us in studio, and we're going to talk about a ton of Stogies of the week, including a Lancero that was Fight Chuck Norris for him. All that and more, so stay tuned. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geek Show. Brought to you by paying homage to the Mecca of tobacco, Pinar del Rio, Cuba. Abe Flores opened his PDR cigar factory in the Dominican Republic over 10 years ago. Abe is one of the hottest boutique cigar makers in the industry today, earning the number 10 spot on Cigar Aficionado's Top 25 Cigars of 2014 with the Abe Flores 1975 Serie Privada. Abe and his team use Cuban blending traditions in a modern boutique Dominican factory. Smoke PDR cigars and cut, light, and taste what they love to do. Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest growing boutique cigar companies, providing smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Pelayo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew within Cuban circles. The creation of Duran Premium Cigars has given Roberto the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the same quality, construction, and detail which he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran Premium Cigar Series, Azan Cigars, Nea, and Baracoa. Duran Cigars uses a seed-to-humidor approach, as all tobacco is grown on their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out Roberto's precise method to ensure progressive flavor in each cigar. Duran Cigars invites you to make their premium your standard. M. Bombay cigars represent the most admired cigar culture of Cuba. They select the best of the best quality tobacco to use in the aging process. M. Bombay cigars are then rolled in Costa Rica by some of the most experienced cigar rollers, giving it a unique smoking experience. The band portrays the detailed and artistic nature of our small industry. Try the M. Bombay Casera, M. Bombay Mora, and the recently released M. Bombay Habana. M. Bombay cigars, where the cigar is a way of life. The Stogie Geek Show. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian. Very excited to be here for this outstanding episode of the Stogie Geek Show. It's episode 187, and it is May 16th, 2016. We're broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios. I am here in studio with the lovely Brenda Barrett. Brenda, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul.
It's nice to have you. So we moved to Mondays.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best things about Mondays now is you're able to make the regular show.
Yeah, exactly.
You may have seen Brenda a lot of Stogie Geek shorts.
Yep.
But now she can actually join us on Mondays. I'm very excited about this.
Me too.
And we're smoking, and we got some cocktails, which we'll talk about. On the lines via Skype, it's Mr. Will Cooper. Welcome, Will.
Hey guys, how's it going today?
It's going fantastic. And let's see, we've got a packed show, so I'm going to let you introduce our special guest, and we'll get right into our interview for this evening.
Yeah, so we have a great guest tonight. We have Mr. Bryan Mussard of Cattle Baron Cigars. Bryan, Will Cooper, Brenda, and Paul, welcome to the Stogie Geek Show. Thanks for hanging in there for a few minutes.
Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
So now, Bryan, your main industry that you got started in is not cigars. Why don't you tell people what your business was at first, which I believe came first? Was it the cattle business? Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been in the cattle business my whole life. Still am. Today we work 700 head of cattle. Tomorrow we're shipping another 700 head of cattle out. It's just been kind of a crazy couple of weeks, but that's my love, my passion, my whole family. That's what we do. We've done our whole lives. So, yeah, that's our base. That's our core company. Putting great beef on the plates of fine dining establishments is what we love doing.
So you're like a legit cowboy dude, right? Like you get on the horse and move the cattle across the state. Is that how it works still or no?
Yeah, that's how we do everything. In fact, my daughter was on my colt this morning, and he was raising heck with her and trying to buck, and so I still got my work clothes on, still got a little cow manure on my boots and just barely got in time for the interview. So
You're like a legit American hero, dude. That is so cool. That's so awesome.
Yeah. Brian pings me this morning. He sends me an email, getting ready for the show. He says, "Hey, I'm actually heading out to the range." So I was like, he was literally heading out on that, which was cool.
No,
yeah,
Brian.
My wife came down and filled in for us so I could come do it. They're still down there finishing stuff up.
No, that's awesome. So, Brian, you sent us some of your steaks. In fact, during the break, we're going to cut to a segment of Will and I eating the steaks. Tell us a little bit about the steaks that you sent up.
Well, those are home raised right off our place. Every time you guys go into a place and you see prime grade or certified Angus beef, we raise the bulls, the genetic side of that make that quality of steak. And so we run 400 registered cows. And it's just real important to us. We start with the end game. I mean, somebody's got to eat this when we're done. And we start genetically with real high marbling, real tender, good tasting, so that we're, sometimes at the end of a day out here on the ranch, it's cold, it's raining, it might be snowing, prices might be bad, but you can always count on a good steak if you're paying attention to genetics and you do a good job taking care of the cattle.
That's awesome.
And those steaks we sent you they come right off our place, and those were prime grade, and that's how we do it. And in fact, our vodka brand manager called me here yesterday, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of us. There's a food company in New York that wants us to start shipping our beef direct to some restaurants back there.
Yeah, that I can totally see, because the steak that you sent us, Brian, was so delicious, but it was so unique. Like you could really tell, even though you had to freeze them to send them, right? It was still like one of the best steaks I ever had. It was really like that high-end quality, like steak that you would get in a really high-end restaurant, or if you like the equivalent of that would be here in Rhode Island when you go to the docks and you get fresh, seafood. It was like that same kind of experience. So I can totally see that happening.
I'm glad you liked it.
We actually, that steak came right off. It was because that was a porterhouse cut, right?
It's been so long ago. I think I threw a ribeye in there and 2 porterhouses in there too.
Yeah, dude. Paul and I, these were like such big cuts. You'll see it, and I think Paul and I went through a pretty big cut of meat very quickly on that.
We did.
Yeah, we were it was excellent.
Yeah, we got to get some more of those. So now, Brian, you mentioned the vodka industry as well. How did you get involved in the vodka industry?
Oh, that's a long love story, I guess, to share that. Like I said, we've been ranching our whole lives, but we lease ranches. 4 years ago, we had 8 different places leased, and my wife and I just decided to own one, and we're serious about it, changed our thoughts, and that just kind of came around. I've had celiac disease since birth. So in 1971, they diagnosed it, and that was long before it became a popular fad today. And so I've been gluten-free my whole life. So I've always drank potato vodka. Love good vodka, good steak, good cigars. I call myself a recovering perfectionist. And so my wife had gone on a guerrilla trek to Africa. My son was over there. Our son was over there for the Special Forces Unit with the Montana National Guard. And she went over there. He got her on a 4-day trek. And I went back and read all our love letters we'd ever written, and I'd never done that. So there was 2 huge boxes, stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm on the deck having a cup of coffee, smoking a cigar. And the following morning, and gorgeous vodka just came to my mind. And I thought that was kind of strange because I'd never thought about making vodka. But we had made the decision to do something that we could own a ranch with. And so I wrote it down and didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. And a couple of weeks later, told my wife about it. She came home, and we're in there doing books, and the shape of our bottle comes to my mind. And I'm not much of an artist, but she is. And I hollered at her to come in and draw it down, and she can't do that. So I scribbled out a piece of paper with the shape of our bottle. I've still got that, sent it to my daughter, 4 text messages back and forth. She had that down, and then she went on and designed it on the computer and got it done for us. And so we decided at that point, the name and the shape of a bottle, very unique. It wasn't anything picked out of a catalog, nothing we had been pining for. So we just, I just kind of figured it was spontaneous inspiration, and it's helping us to continue ranching and doing what we love doing. And so we've We've got a real specific recipe for vodka. It's got to be smooth. It's got to be tasty, and that's kind of how it came to be. We make it in Idaho. Our distillery's over there. Our guy that's been making vodka has been doing it for 27 years. Real perfectionist. Knows what I wanted. He was a little dubious about my cranberry tea flavor. And I told him, I said, I'm only making this for myself to smoke cigars because I don't drink whiskey, bourbon, anything else. When I go check cows, it's a 200-mile round trip, and I'll take a thing of cranberry tea and a thing of tea and a thing of cranberry juice, mix them together, light my cigars, and take off, go check the cows. So I made that flavor just to pair with a cigar, and it's just been a fantastic flavor for us.
And so what's the name of the vodka? The brand name?
The vodka is Gorgeous Vodka.
Now, it's interesting. We were sampling some of your Gorgeous vodka before the show, and one of our production engineers, Mark, was like, hey, I want the vodka that's in that bottle that looks like a lady.
That's it.
So when you told the story about how you came up with the bottle, I thought it was very interesting that that's how your bottle was identified with. And the cranberry tea vodka, Brian, is what I'm drinking now.
Me too.
And I mixed it. Do you drink it just like neat or just straight, or how do you drink it? I'm curious.
When I'm smoking a cigar, I just drink it neat.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, I'll add just a little bit. I might add a little bit of tea to it. I might add a little bit more cranberry, but I love it just neat, just wetting my lips in between puffs of my cigar.
It absolutely, what I like about it, and I'm smoking a cigar and drinking the vodka right now, and it's a perfect pairing because neither one of them is overpowering the other. They're complementing each other beautifully with this, which is what I look for in a pairing.
Well, what I found about the cranberry tea is, and I don't know if you guys have noticed it, is when I take a puff of it, when you just drink the cranberry tea, you don't really taste the berry until after you've taken a puff of your cigar, and that really brings the berries right up on top of your palate.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Now, I enjoy the vodka neat, but I don't know if other people have sent you in like cocktail recipes for this cranberry tea vodka, Brian.
Yeah, we have. There's all kinds of mixologists, bartenders. They really have fun with it. They do all kinds of stuff with it.
So I'm
ready if you got one.
I do. I came up with my own version. I don't really have a name for it, but I essentially took the basic ingredients of a Tom Collins, and I substituted the vodka with your cranberry tea vodka. So it's 2 ounces cranberry tea vodka. I maybe put a half an ounce of lemon juice, maybe 3/4 of an ounce of sugar syrup. I stir that and I top it with sparkling water, garnish with a lemon. And that is my favorite cocktail with this. It took me a couple times to get the proportions right. Yep. But once I got those proportions right, man, it is so. That's the drink that I made for Will when we were eating the steaks.
Well, we can call that the Gorgeous Paul.
The Gorgeous Paul. I like it. I like it. Sold. Sold.
If I had more time, I'd go make one for myself right now.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I made them again tonight. That's what I'm drinking tonight. It's very, very good. I didn't have any lemon to garnish with, though. I used it all in the drink.
Lemons.
So, do you make what are the other vodkas in the line? I'm curious.
Well, our original is just straight potato vodka.
Mm-hmm.
We've turned that in to 2 different international tasting competitions. Beverage Tasting Institute gave us a 93 and a gold medal. San Francisco International Tasting Spirits gave us a gold medal there. And then we have the cranberry tea, which is my favorite. And then we came up with a jalapeno infused.
Ooh.
And the unique thing about our vodka is our cranberry tea is actually made with real cranberry juice and tea extract. It's not a formula made anywhere else. And it's actually the only cranberry tea flavored vodka in the world. There's lots of tea flavors, lots of cranberries, but there's not that flavor. And it's the first vodka ever specifically made to go with a cigar. Our pepper vodka is actually infused in real jalapeno peppers for 3 weeks before we go ahead and filter it and bottle it. So that's really unique too. Great, and Bloody Marys makes a Bloody Mary a gorgeous Mary.
Yeah, I like that. I love Bloody Marys. I also love potato vodka. In fact, there is a cocktail that we use that calls for potato vodka that's called a Dirty Martinez.
Yeah.
It's kind of a take on a martini.
As long as it's not a take on a Dirty Sanchez.
No, it is not. Totally different. It's potato vodka. I can't remember the whole recipe. I'll come back after the break with the recipe. There's cocktail onions in it, which make it very briny. And it actually complements a cigar really well. And that's my one cocktail that I know specifically calls for that potato vodka. Yeah. So actually, the potato vodka that I was getting, Brian, was, I think, distilled up in Maine. And they've since gone out of business, or something happened. They're not making it anymore. So I'm going to have to seek out some of your potato vodka and put in that recipe, and I'm sure it's going to be fabulous.
We'll take care of it. We can send you steaks and vodka. As long as you got a radio show, you'll have something to eat and drink on it.
That's awesome, and we'll talk about
I wouldn't mind doing another segment with that.
Yeah, I'm going to do those segments all day long. Fine with me.
Yeah.
So now, how did you, what prompted you to start looking for a cigar? I'm assuming that you enjoyed cigars before you, in fact, had a brand of your own cigars.
Yeah, I've smoked cigars since junior high. If you're hunting, camping, fishing, or out riding, we always had backwoods. We always had Swisher Sweets, and, coming through high school. And then, 12 years ago, my wife got me a cigar book, and the whole history of them. And I went through that and went through it until I finally found some handmade cigars and just started pouring into that. And then learning how to pair. I listened to a couple shows, learning how to pair. And when I made the cranberry tea, I sent my daughter out, who designed the bottle for us. She does all of our artwork, all of our marketing. And I said, here's a case of vodka. When you're on the road, go to every cigar shop you can, pour this for these guys, and let them know that I made this just to go with the cigar and just see what they say. And lo and behold, she ran into Danny Sinclair, Phil's partner, and told him about our ranch and what we did. And, Danny runs a few Wagyu cattle. And so there was kind of a common bond there. He made Debonair rum. And we just started kind of talking back and forth. And Danny calls me up 2 years ago and says, hey, I'm in South Dakota. I could come up there and spend a day or two with you. Zara says you got a great place. So I said, sure, come on up. We were calving, and where we're at is a complete remote place. There's no service up there. I mean, it's just you and the cows and the wolves and God. That's it. And so he came up there. He got to tag a calf. We named that calf Debonair. He turned out to be a great bull. We still got him today. And so while he was there, I said, by this time, I've got a cigar maker right there, on my place. And we just start sharing about stuff. I said, what's the possibilities of getting a cigar made? And so he starts calling Phil, and they start going back and forth, and we go through some stuff. And so they send us a few samples, and we went back and forth for about a year and a half, and went to the Standard House in Nashville and smoked the Debonair cigar. And I called him up and I said, this is the best cigar I've ever had in my life. Make me something like that. And Phil said, that's my cigar. So
try again.
I said, that's fine, but you better come close. So we went back and forth, and he finally said, you need to come down here, see what we do, go to the farms, just look at our program. You pick it out. I think I know what you want. So we went through the whole deal. We got down there, and after going to the farm and the fermenting houses and the rollers and stuff, Phil pretty well knew what I wanted. He laid 6 cigars out there. We tasted the first one, and I said, I'm done. That's it. You got it. And so that's how we came up with the Cattle Baron blend. He wanted to come up here and meet us, see our place, make sure that we were legit. So he came out here last fall, and we put him on a horse and gathered some yearlings. Actually, we sold some cattle to a guy in Iowa, and we had to go out. He can tell you, we were way out in the middle of nowhere. And he rode one of our best horses, my wife's horse, and we had to gather him about 2.5 miles out there and got him in and loaded him up. And he spent 4 days with me here, and it was good, because we didn't just want we didn't want a gimmick. I didn't want my name just on a band at some factory where they pumped out 300,000 cigars. It really had to be unique. I had to really like it, just like my vodka. And Phil did not have time to, and he used some pretty, articulate language. He said, I did not have time to make cigars for some rich bugger, we'll call him, that just wants his name on one. I want somebody real. So we kind of felt each other out, and we got to know each other and found out that we're both real. And And that's how we came together and got going. And so we got the best in the business, I think, making the cigars. Real people down there that do a fantastic job, and we're just pretty thrilled that they were willing to do this for us and be part of our life.
Now, Brian, I have to ask, when you tasted the cigars for the first time, the first couple times maybe you smoked them, did you have in mind pairing this cigar with your steaks and your cranberry tea vodka?
I had been doing that for several years, and I had developed, I don't know, I guess call it a longing. There was a certain flavor that just wasn't quite there, but I really enjoyed it, the pairing. But I really wanted to, there was just, I guess to explain it, I told Phil, I said, I want a cigar that after you light it, still smells like tobacco.
Mm.
And it kind of he passed that back to his crew, and when after I got down there, they were like, man, we thought you were crazy, it all smells like tobacco, what do you mean? And so I just really like a real full rich aroma, and that, like I said, really brings out the berries in that tea, and
Yeah.
steak complements it. It's real similar to wine and steak, but the cigar and the cranberry tea and the steak is it's just something it's just very special.
I would agree, and had I not experienced it myself, I'd probably be questioning it. But having Will and I, in the segment that we did, Brian, we smoked your cigar, we drank the cranberry tea vodka, and we ate the steaks all at the same time. And let me tell you, that is something I could get used to doing every day.
It was a perfect storm. I mean, it really was. I'm not just saying that. We're sitting there before we're recording this, and I'm like, is this all clicking? And Paul's like, yeah, it's clicking there.
We were like, wow, this is work, huh?
Right. I was working next door when you were doing that.
That's too bad.
You got steak?
We'll get some more.
Gotta try it.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Very special.
Go ahead, Will.
So Phil, we saw pictures of Phil up in Montana. He sent me some pictures. It must have been like in last fall. I thought he was just on vacation. I'm like, what's Phil Zengi like wandering around Montana for?
In a cowboy hat, nonetheless.
In a cowboy. I would have liked to see. Yeah. So So it sounds like now when you guys made the cigar, you guys did something unique. You launched it at your national convention, correct?
Yeah, he came out, and every year in January, the last weekend of January, first couple of days of February, is the National Cattlemen's Association. There's usually 6,000 to 8,000 people there, and we thought, what a perfect, 5 years ago it was in Tampa, and they were giving out free cigars, and that's kind of where I was really starting to go, hey, wait a minute, I would love to be handing out my own cigars at this thing. And so kind of a dream come true, here in January, Phil's there, and we passed out 451 cigars that night, and people really, really liked them. We've yet to have somebody smoke them and send us a bad review on Facebook or email or even a phone call.
Yeah, we've reviewed them too on the show and on the website, and we get feedback from our audience a lot, and all the feedback saying, yep, I've smoked it too. Great cigar. I'm actually smoking the Bulls right now, which is the short, the 58 ring gauge, which this is the first time I've had this size, and it's really good.
That one's pretty full. That's the most full-bodied one of the
Yeah, I was going to agree. Yeah, I was going to say that.
I'm smoking the, Brendan and I both are smoking the Toro.
Yeah.
And these cigars just keep getting better ever since you sent them to us, Brian. Like, it's amazing to think what these are going to do down the line because they just keep getting better and better and better with age.
Yeah, smooth, good flavor. You don't have to draw head on it. It's really nice.
I get that tobacco kind of flavor. Like it's got that rustic tobacco.
Yeah, but it's not that
in the background. But it's not overwhelming. Yeah, it's a subtle tobacco.
Strength.
Like you're smoking a. It's weird to say that when a cigar tastes like tobacco because of course it does. It's tobacco, but the way certain cigars represent that tobacco kind of feel is really cool, and this is definitely one of them.
Yes.
Now,
I'm really glad you like them.
Yeah, no, it's
very much.
I mean, we smoke a lot of cigars too. This is an excellent cigar.
Smoke a lot of cigars.
We do.
Well, that means a lot coming from you guys.
Thank you.
I really like this Toro, though.
I really like steak. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying.
Brian, you have to tell us where we can get some more steak.
We have to expand the studio up in Rhode Island. We got to expand that kitchen, I think.
That's it. We need a bigger kitchen so we can cook more steaks.
Talk to our landlord.
I'll come over just to cook the steak.
that might be part of our sponsorship. We'll keep you guys supplied in steaks.
We could definitely work a deal.
I'd work for steak. I'd work for steak.
So Bryan, when you launched the cigar, there was an auction, correct? So you guys gave away, or you raffle, or I should say, there was a bid for the first box of those, and you gave that back to the Cattlemen's Association?
Yeah, that was actually really exciting. We didn't know how that would go, because they're auctioning off hunts down in turkey hunts and quail hunts and alligator hunts and week-long trips on ranches in Florida and all over. There was a trip to Africa, all kinds of stuff. And all we had was our claim to fame was our first box of Cattle Baron cigars imported into the United States. I had Phil right there on the stage, and he signed the box right there, and we were just shocked. The box of cigars brought $3,200. I think it was the third highest selling thing, and we were just tickled to death. And it came home, actually. The Montana Stock Growers, which is an affiliate of the association, bought it, sent it back. It's in the office up there, and I'll be the president for the next 2 years. And every time I go to the office, I can reach in my little homemade humidor that a good friend of mine made and have a cigar.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, totally agree. And then when you did the packaging of these boxes and these bands, they're just, they scream cattle.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Phil and I spent a lot on that. We went through several different things, and we both really felt, we wanted an early Americana, the cattle drive from Texas to Montana, and it was Longhorns back then and long days. And, as a kid growing up, Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, every Western you saw where they were out trailing cows, at the end of the day, they're smoking a cigar and they're just satisfied about what they got done. They took care of the bad guys. They hung them and they got the cattle back and moved them where they needed to. And there's just that, we wanted that feeling, and wood is a part of that. Longhorns are a part of that. If you look on the band, on the right side of that band there, that buckskin horse is actually our horse.
Oh, nice.
And Phil got to ride that horse. He had the bands done. There you go, Will, that buckskin right there. Yep. He had the bands done, but he came up, and that field right there, the Longhorns is a picture that they came up with, but somehow they photoshopped, they got the artist, they put our horse in there. Phil got to ride that horse. Those mountains are down right behind where we trailed those heifers that day and loaded them up and shipped them out. So that, just the whole authenticity of this entire project is so exciting for all of us.
Is that Phil riding the cigar in the picture? I mean, riding the horse in the picture? Riding the cigar.
Well, you'll have to ask Amaris. Amaris is art guy. You'll have to ask him that. Kind of looks like Phil in a cowboy hat.
It's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah.
It's nice, though. It goes with the whole essence of the cigars and a time when, you could go out and smoke and, that whole era of relaxing, enjoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you come in work from a hard day, you know what I mean? And then you want to relax and have a drink, have a vodka, have a smoke.
Phil's other project with Indian Motorcycle, it's the same
thing.
It's exactly what you could be saying the same thing about the Indian Motorcycle.
You just want to open a door and step into a better time.
He really embodies that.
And that's what you get. You just, the label itself, that essence of it, it speaks to you. You want to try it. Bring you back to a happier, quiet time. Yeah,
exactly. And I think Indian Motorcycle does the same thing, which is kind of interesting that Phil's done both of these projects as offshoots of Debonair. And they've both been awesome in their own right. But exactly what Brenda says, just takes you to a different time and place. Yep. And the whole thing fits together, from the box to the band to the way the cigar smokes, all goes along with the theme. And having someone like, Bryan behind the cigar and Bryan having you tell your stories just really gets me even more excited about this cigar. Yeah. So, Phil, you had to, Will, you had some more questions in there.
Yeah. So Bryan, there's a common thread with your projects is that they all involve, some sort of an agriculture component. So you have obviously, what you're doing with the cattle and the beef. You have potatoes for the vodka and tobacco for the cigars. Have you kind of learned any? I mean, are there any common things or differences that you've kind of learned along the way, dealing with those three different agricultural components?
Well, one thing we're learning is passion overcomes wealth all the time and actually creates it. We've started from scratch my whole life. I've been told my whole life, if you weren't born on a ranch, you didn't marry into it, you'll never have one. And yet I've been ranching my whole life and figured out a way to do it. And when we got in the vodka business, the most saturated spirits business in the world, people said, unless you got 15 million bucks in 10 years to hammer it out, it isn't going to happen. And after 3 years, 2,500 vodkas to choose from. Neiman Marcus has picked up Gorgeous Vodka, and they're going to pour it in their. They want it in 25 lounges across the country. And
Nice.
the same with our cigars. I just feel like it's a legit project. Everything we do out here is legit. Take your cattle, your vodka. If it's good and it's got good packaging, it will sell and people will like it. Look at the steaks you guys talked about. That's, we don't just slap a label on it and say, well, we raise Angus cattle too. We've been paying attention to the genetics and how they taste since 1993. And we follow them all the way through. And then we can come back and we can start on this end, and we don't have to do all the different things to try to get, we don't have to put our beef on sale, put it that way, because people love it. It tastes good. You guys got to see that firsthand, and it was frozen and then thawed back out again. Same with our vodka. If I didn't like it, I couldn't sell it. If I don't like our cattle and our beef, I can't sell it. And then it came down to the cigars, the same thing. I just felt if we had a great package, a great product, and Phil was a huge part of that. Just him understanding when I'm explaining what I want, and he could figure it out, and he knew. And for him to come out here, he got so excited after he came out here and actually rode the horses and saw that what we were doing and got manure on his boots. I mean, you wouldn't have believed. I wish I could have sent some video clips of how excited he was and how much fun he had to be part of this, and how much fun I had down there. See this hat I've got on now? I'll just tell you a funny story. We went down there. The first night we were down there, we stayed. I set my hat off. My wife and I were sitting by the pool getting ready to eat dinner at their place at the Debonair House. We go in, we have dinner. We come back out, and my hat's missing. And my wife's book was missing. And we look around, and Danny's brother, Callan, had an 8-month-old Labrador and chewed the rim clear off of my hat. Anyway, it's pretty cute. So I wore that hat when I was down there. There's a few pictures on Facebook. It's a real short the rim's all gone. People thought I actually bought that hat in the Dominican. It's a little fedora I was running around with.
That's funny.
So I wrote on the inside of that band, hat maker made by Gabe, and that was the dog's name that ate him. So
that's funny.
Lots of fun along the way.
Did the hat taste as good as the steak?
I know.
We have to ask you. We'll have to ask you.
Exactly.
So, Bryan, with FDA regulation looming for the cigar industry, are there things you've learned about the FDA and your other businesses, being cattle and beef and spirits, that you want to share with us and the people in the industry for cigars?
We've been talking about that quite a little bit, and I almost want to, we kind of laughed about it last week. I thought, if you outlawed steaks, you have to be 21 before you can have a steak. There'd be a barbecue on every country road. Kids, high school kids would be having steaks, and pretty soon, marijuana is going to be legal everywhere, and we're all going to be out underneath pine trees sneaking our cigars. I mean, it's that ridiculous.
Yep.
But one thing I have learned about the FDA, whether it's spirits or tobacco, there's huge revenue sources, and we've got lots of safety mechanisms in place. We're overkill as far as marketing to the youth and stuff, and so I think this is just a political football. I do think, there's ways to get the amendments put in there and get this thing stopped, but I don't know why they would kill a revenue source for the government. I mean, we tobacco and spirits fund a lot of things in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about every time they want to add a tax. Where do they go? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of a really good point in all this thing. I've kind of taken the approach, Bryan, that I think this was the FDA kind of, they've been saying they wouldn't do this for a while. They put the worst case one out there because if they knew they were going to get challenged, no matter what was put out there, now they have the leveraging room. So because you're right, they can't you outlaw tobacco, you're not going to have those revenue sources. It's just, and you're going to kill a business on top of that.
Yeah. A lot of small business.
Well, and I think it's like Will said too, like, if you're selling your house or whatever, you set the price as high as you can, knowing that people are going to negotiate down. And the FDA has done the same thing. Worst case scenario is thrown out there.
Yeah.
Brian, are they as difficult in the livestock area as they are with tobacco? I mean, they are really difficult, is what I've seen, just kind of reading through the regulations. Is it like that too on the livestock area?
Oh, it is. Like if we get in, Fancy Foods is the name of the company in New York that wants us to start labeling our own meat. And when you start talking about labeling your beef and the safe practices that have to go on, and some of the perceptions that are out there that people really don't understand to what goes into a handmade anything, whether it's a steak or a cigar, they really don't understand. And people can really twist that. And the safety regulations that we have to go through in the beef industry to put the safest product on the table on earth it would just blow your mind. And same with cigars. I mean, the minimum wage thing is very similar to this FDA tax. Go ahead and raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Your cheeseburgers at McDonald's are going to be $20 a piece. Who's going to go buy one?
Exactly. No, it's a good analogy.
That's I agree. Totally agree with that. So as far as the cigars go, are they now available for folks to get?
Actually, our first shipment will be here on Friday of this week. Phil's sending in the first batch. We're all licensed here in Montana, and we're almost done with our importer's license so that we can ship. And actually, Phil's got a new deal set up where he can ship. We can ship to anybody in the United States today.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, let us know, and we'll definitely get the word out because we've been getting asked from folks on that already, just from what we've been covering on that. And are you going to be actually at our trade show this year, the IPCPR?
Yeah, it'll be my third time to that show. First time, I've been there twice as a guest, just wandering around, getting to know Danny and Phil and the whole thing. And this year we'll be right there in Phil's booth, and you'll be able to find us. There'll be an overhead corral and a big longhorn head there. You'll be able to see us where we're at. Nice. But it's going to be fun. We're going to hit that show, and then a month later we'll be at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, and so we'll hit to the distributor show first, and then the consumer show second, and see what happens.
Brian, I just have 5 short questions that we call playing 5 questions with the Stogie Geeks. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
3 words to describe yourself.
Wow, that's a tough one. Authentic and real.
If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
30-30.
Very fitting. If you wrote a book about yourself, what would the title be?
There and back again.
In the popular game of Ask Grabby Grabby, do you prefer to go first or second?
First.
Choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Wow.
That's a tough one, I know.
That's a tough one. You know what? You know why that's tough is because Marcia and I don't have TV. We've never had TV. We watch a few movies. My parents. Well, Bill Murray.
That's a good one.
And Goldie Hawn.
There you go. Bryan Mussard, thank you very much for appearing on the show. We can't wait till we can try more of your steaks, vodka, and cigars because they go so well together.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for coming out. And up next, Will, Brenda, and I are going to talk about cigar furniture. I'm not even quite sure what that means, but Will's going to define cigar furniture, and we're going to talk about it. So stay tuned.
Can I have what he has?
I'll do an old.